Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with a special weird edition of Platinum versus Dynamite. I know you're saying this seems a little bit early, but they released the very first episode of Dynamite because it is their first anniversary. It took place on October the 2nd, 2019. Pretty awesome. It was from the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., which I've been to before. And there were 14,129 people there to see that inaugural episode of Dynamite. It was weird seeing a Dynamite show with a crowd. It was something else. JR, Tony, and Excalibur were your commentators. What was really notable about watching this show was all the same players are still there, and it's sort of an advanced position. It was really cool to see that they really stuck to stuff. That was a big surprise. And a bunch of stuff that I thought were kind of recent innovations, or relatively recent, turns out they've been doing them for the entire year. Like the, little bit of the bubbly, I thought that was a thing that Jericho did, in the last 6 months or during 2020, but nope, he even had a shirt way back then. Good matches, 6 of them. First match, we advertised right at the top. It's going to be Pac against Adam Page, Riho against Nyla Rose to determine the first AEW Women's Champion, and then the main event is going to be Kenny Omega and the Bucks against Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz. Pretty awesome. First match, Cody Rhodes against Sammy Guevara in a match that really set the tone. I would love to go back and study the first match of the first show for promotions. For their television show. If I recall right, it wasn't it Jushin Liger against Pillman was the first Nitro match. Pretty hard company to keep up with, but Cody and Sammy really do a barn burner of a match, a great story. This spot where Sammy pulled Brandy in front of him for Cody to wipe her out, and Cody barely pulls up in time to not completely destroy her. Fantastic spot. I love the finish too, where Sammy goes to dive on Cody in a big move at the end, and Cody lifts his knees to catch him in the stomach and then rolls him up for the pin. I really liked it. Jericho then attacked Cody and just absolutely waylaid him and demolished him. Which was setting up their pay-per-view, which they talked about at that time was Full Gear again. And the 2 big matches were going to be Omega and Moxley, and then Cody Rhodes getting his shot at Jericho, who was the champion. Match number 2 was Brandon Cutler against MJF. Cool to see that Brandon Cutler was on that first Dynamite. MJF makes quick work of him and beats him with the Salt of the Earth, the Fujiwara armbar. Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes are there as the celebrity guests, and they're putting it over and putting over that Jericho was in there. Relaunch at Clerks and all this kind of great stuff. And then TH2 kind of makes hay. We have an SCU promo, which was great. And then they did a live promo, and as they're talking, then the Lucha Brothers interrupted. So we're setting up that they're also having this tag tournament for the first tag champions. Next match number 3, I suppose. I was wrong saying 6, it was 5. Adam Page against Pac. Again, a really great match. Page is coming off that great match with Jericho, where Jericho was crowned the first champion. And Pac wins in the end with a low blow. They're making certain things really important. Some of the things they've stuck to really well, like how important the rankings are. They really don't use an excess of low blows, though in the brawl at the end, they certainly were kicking each other in the dick all over the place. But Pac beating Page here was really great. I mean, they really invested a lot in Pac. I know because of COVID, Pac hasn't been able to come over, and that really sucks, because they really have put their stock behind Pac, and you can see why here. Just a great match with Adam Page. Really good stuff. We got Britt Baker on commentary for the women's match, and Miho against Nyla. I'm sorry, age has not done this match any favors. Miho beating Nyla it really does look ridiculous. I cannot explain to you why Hikaru Shida looked a little bit better doing it, but there's just something a little more believable about Hikaru Shida laying out Nyla than Miho. Nyla does a good job here. no doubt in putting Miho over. And Miho, in fact, wins. And then Nyla goes ape and then destroys her and lays people out and is just hitting people, moves left and right, and then finally leaves. Cool. So then we have our 6-man main event. The highlights include Moxley showing up and just brawling with Omega, culminating with a freaking paradigm shift DDT out in the backstage kind of area through a glass table, completely bonkers. And then they go to commercial and they come back, and the story is the Bucks in vain trying to hold off Santana and Ortiz and Jericho. They finally succumb to the Judas Effect elbow and get pinned, but that's only part of the story. They start beating their ass. They start beating on the Bucks. Here comes Cody to save. Super exciting. But then here comes Sammy Guevara to jump Cody. But then here comes Dustin Rhodes to help his brother. And you think that that's the long and short of it. The crowd is, by the way, super hot for everything all night long. Granted, it's their debut show, but AEW really did have a special connection to the crowd, and I'm looking forward to seeing that again. But Dustin Rhodes is going ape and just waylaying everybody, and then Jake Hager shows up, lays him out, lays everybody out. They put him over huge, and we see the formation of the Inner Circle. I'll make this short and sweet because God knows you're going to get enough videos from me, but I thought it was kind of an interesting thing to mark the time. This has been Platinum versus AEW Dynamite, the very first one. And I'm Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling.